following is a CUNY TV special presentation.
On February 2nd, 2014, exactly 101 days from today, Super Bowl XLVIII will be held at MetLife Stadium across the river. The last time New York hosted an NFL championship game was December 1962, when the New York Giants faced off against the Green Bay Packers in the original Yankee Stadium. My dad, in just closing, would have been, as I said before, thrilled to be here. He was a big football and sports fan for this city. He loved both the Giants and the Jets. I remember him taking me early on as a kid to the Polo Grounds and Yankee Stadium to watch both teams as I froze my tushy off in the seats. But it taught me the importance of what sports means to our city. It is now my pleasure to turn the program over to Alfred Kelly Jr., President and CEO of the New York and New Jersey Super Bowl Host Committee.
So just to give you a sense of the roadmap of this journey, because it goes way back. In the summer of 2009 is when the NFL asked for interest and among the 32 franchises as to who would be interested in hosting Super Bowl XLVIII in February of 2014. And then the game was actually officially awarded down in Dallas at a meeting of the owners on May 25th of 2010. So it was 1,350 days before February 2nd, 2014. And today, as we sit here at breakfast, we have 101 days to go. We're a 501c6. We're headquartered at MetLife Stadium. And we have a satellite office in Midtown Manhattan. We have a very simple mission statement that this Super Bowl experience is a great experience for everybody, visitors, businesses, local community, very importantly, the NFL owners. It's one of the smallest clubs in the world, only 32 members, and those 32 members determine where Super Bowls are played. And in my opinion, this game's been being played for almost 5 decades, and it's about time that it came to this marketplace, and it only makes sense to me that it should be in this marketplace at least once a decade. I am the CEO of something called the Host Company, which is its own legal entity. It's got, I'm chairman of the board of a board that has 9 members in totality. But we, as I said, kind of sit in the middle of a whole bunch of people we're counting on to help us. Government partners, so I pointed out, we're a big enabler to the NFL. In fact, when a city is awarded a Super Bowl, they're required to put a host committee together to help the NFL get done what they need to get done, and obviously help the city, or in our case, region, get done what they need to get done. We have all kinds of other special purpose advisors. We have a host committee, which Woody and John chair, that's made up of about 250 people from both sides of the Hudson, from all kinds of walks of life that help us in many ways. And very importantly, down at the bottom are the regional citizens. We're going to need thousands and thousands of volunteers and all kinds of additional part-time workers during the course of the 10 days leading up to the game. And we think about this in 4 phases, and we're well now into the kind of the 3rd quarter of this, to use a football analogy. There was a lot of setup work at the beginning, and very importantly, fundraising. This is not an inexpensive venture. This will be the most expensive Super Bowl in terms of money that's had to be raised by at least double what Dallas was, which was the most expensive one prior to that. We went through a whole phase of kind of dreaming, kind of what could be and where could things be, et cetera. And now we're down to a phase where the dreaming is done. In fact, I have a list of stuff on my desk that's our list of things we want to get done, and I have no interest in talking to anybody about anything that's not on that list. We don't have time to add anything because we have enough work to do on the things that are on the list. Focus, 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 and execution, execution, execution is all that it's about now. And then obviously, when we get into the last little bit of this, it's really when it's showtime. First, let me introduce Pam Oliver. Pam grew up in Texas. Believe it or not, went to Niceville High School in Niceville, Florida, and she is really nice. She was a tremendous athlete at Niceville High School. I don't really know how many athletes there were at Niceville High School, but she was a tremendous athlete at Niceville High School. She went on to Florida A&M, and she was an All-American in track, and then went to be a reporter and then a sports anchor, and from there has risen to be the top sideline reporter for the NFL on Fox and for the NBA on TNT. So Pam, welcome. And the two men that are really the visionaries of this, who, interestingly enough, were both born in New Jersey and now both live in New York and own the two teams that represent the National Football League in this great region. Really were the visionaries behind bringing this game. And based on my experience talking to 7 or 8 other people who have done this, there's been no Super Bowl where ownership has been so intimately involved as the Giants and Jets are here. And it really has been one of my great pleasures to have the opportunity to work with Woody Johnson and John Tisch. So let me welcome them as well. Let me just show a quick video, and then Pam can grill us.
Super Bowl 48 in February of 2014 will be played in New York, New Jersey.
The New York, New Jersey area is going to get a Super Bowl.
500 days from today, it will be the Super Bowl.
We're really trying to rally the communities in the region of New York and New Jersey. We want to be great hosts.
The NFL is bringing the Super Bowl, the biggest game in sports, to our area, to MetLife Stadium in February. Along with that, they're planning some community service projects to give back.
Outside of Tiffany's on 5th Avenue, past Super Bowl heroes David Tyree and Emerson Boozer, officials from the NFL and the New York, New Jersey Super Bowl host committee gathered together.
You can't see how many security people from Tiffany's are here guarding the Super Bowl trophy behind us.
They celebrate the launch of the Join the Huddle mobile tour.
The Join the Huddle tour is a Super Bowl experience on wheels. The Huddle Shuttle is going to make at least 48 stops, 24 on each side of the Hudson. Go!
The stadium itself only holds 83,000 people. So it's a way for everybody to get a kind of a feel of the excitement.
The excitement is building as we head towards February 2nd. The greatest game in the world will be played on the greatest stage in the world.
People tend to think about it as Super Bowl Sunday, but it really is a series of events that kind of begins earlier in the week and runs for 3, 4, 5, 6 days.
Estimates predict $550 million will be generated by the festivities.
It is a terrific and long overdue reality that this great game is going to be in our region.
Fans had a chance this week to help save a life or lives.
Super Bowl committee hosted a mega blood drive at MetLife Stadium earlier today. In exchange for a donation, blood donors were entered into a lottery for a chance to win Super Bowl tickets.
And today at City Hall, Mayor Bloomberg announced citywide charitable projects surrounding Super Bowl 48, helping out areas affected by Superstorm Sandy. Remarkably, we're just 115 days away from the big game.
The host committee and the NFL have contributed $1 million each, so $2 million on the way, hopefully, to generating over $5 million in impact for the community.
The New York, New Jersey Super Bowl host committee and the NFL came together to sponsor 20,000 new trees in Rockaway Community Park. Well, today's event is just one of the 20 urban forestry events planned in the coming weeks.
What was the bidding process like? I know it's arduous.
Commissioner Goodell was favorably inclined. He didn't go against it, so he was favorably inclined, which really helps because he's from the Northeast. And we didn't really know what we were getting into. We've never done this. We had never done it, but the job is
it's very, very complicated, both politically and operationally. And we're lucky to have a guy like Al Kelly to put it all together. And he says a small staff of 30 people that are, we met with him yesterday, just amazing people that are working on this one project and dedicated to, as Al said, making sure that everybody has a good time and make sure we get another one of these things. We do a great job, and that's what we're dedicated to doing.
There was conversation at the time, started by then Commissioner Tagliabue, about bringing Super Bowl here immediately after 9/11 as a way of rebuilding the economies of the two states. And fortunately, the city rebounded quicker than most expected. The economy started to create jobs once again. And so that idea was put on hold, but that was the first conversation back in '01 and '02 about possibly bringing Super Bowl to this region.
Well,
you're from Atlanta, so you remember the ice storm.
I remember very, very well. Dallas had some issues. Obviously, this area is prepared for snow, whatever the inclement weather is.
Everybody concentrates on the negative, the one thing that could happen, that probably won't happen actually, but I think what Roger Goodell has stated over and over, we're embracing the weather. And if there's any place that's good at handling weather, I grew up in New Jersey, and we were both born there, and we live in New York, and we know weather. We know how to plow. Like, they didn't know how to do that. They didn't have one plow in Atlanta. They didn't have any sand, so you couldn't get around. So if anybody can do this, we've looked at the amazing part about this is all the contingencies that the NFL has looked at and that Al and our team has looked at. And we're good at weather. I think everybody's going to be warm. It's probably going to be a 50-degree day, you know. If that's historically what it will be. I hope we get a little snow.
Jonathan, where will you be sitting during the Super Bowl? I'm just curious. Will you come down?
Well, I know where you'll be.
Yeah. I'm just curious.
There are so many moving parts to this. And you have to understand that the NFL owns the game. They own the halftime show. They own the pre-game activities that'll take place in the parking lot. And what we have tried to do through the host committee and Alan and his incredible team that he's put together is work in tandem with the NFL so that all of the resources available to us as the host committee understand the challenges, whether they be weather, whether they be transportation. One of the things that we talked about in our bi-weekly meeting yesterday are going to be the transportation issues. Due to the security perimeter around the building, we're losing half of our parking spaces. So one of the messages that is going to be so important, we talked about the first Super Bowl that's being put on by two teams, the first in a stadium without a roof. This is also going to be the first public transportation Super Bowl, where we are encouraging, and I underline encouraging, the fans to figure out the best method of public transportation to get there, because there just aren't going to be that many parking spots.
Look, people have gone to lots of cold football games. I mean, it's very possible that a game in December could be a lot colder than the game at the end of January. So, you know, if somebody gets frostbite, that's their own fault. There's plenty of clothes that do the trick. You know, of all the things I have to worry about, I'm not going to worry about the couple of idiots who can't dress properly.
Al, let me ask you, last year we all witnessed a 34-minute delay in the Super Bowl. How do we avoid that power outage kind of possibility with this Super Bowl? What have you done? We've done and will do, Pam, everything we can. I mean, we're replacing parts. We've got redundancy. We've got belts and suspenders. We're bringing in a lot of generator power. We've added capability. We just did, over a Saturday and Sunday 2 weeks ago, we did a load test, because what is unusual about this is that every building on the complex will be going. The Jeff Garral's old and new race track buildings, the Izod Center, the stadium itself, the Giants facility will all be going. So what we did was we simulated a load test of all of that activity going on, and then turned off circuit breakers and did all kinds of stuff to make sure that we understood. And the good news was it held up very well. And the other good news was we found 3 or 4 things we needed to fix. So, I have to knock on every piece of wood. This is not something I know how to do. I barely know how to change a light bulb. So I'm depending upon a whole bunch of experts, but I think we're not leaving any stone unturned in terms of how seriously we're taking this. And these guys were incredibly engaged yesterday, and I think impressed with the plans they saw.
Jonathan, it costs a ton of money to put on a Super Bowl. What do you think will be the economic impact, and how do you arrive at a figure like that?
There are ways to look at the impact as it relates to the once thought of disparate entities of travel and tourism. Unfortunately now with NYC and Company and the work that's being done there, the support of Mayor Bloomberg, we are, Christine and George Fertitta, who now runs it, and I was honored to be the chair for 6 years. We now look at us as one industry. So it's not just hotels, it's not just retail or cultural attractions or shopping or restaurants. So when you take all of the impact, take it over 2 states, we're looking at $500 to $600 million of economic impact for the period leading up to the game and the game itself. Now, it's also important to understand that this isn't 2 states. This is a regional Super Bowl. A lot of the assets that are going to be used are in both states. That's hotels, it's restaurants, it's facilities, it's parties. And the teams will be staying in New Jersey. The opening press day will be in New Jersey. Obviously, a lot of entertaining will be in New York, a lot of hotel rooms, 90,000 hotel rooms in 5 boroughs. But this is for the region. We're creating jobs, and these are good jobs where people will be able to say, the game is coming, here's the economic benefit, and we'll look back and say this has been a very good idea for our region.
Okay, Woody, we've talked about just embracing what this is going to be. What are some of the things the Super Bowl host committee plans? Fans want to come to New York, have a great time, maybe participate in some of the organized Super Bowl activities.
Well, I think the biggest,
many of them can't go to the game.
Most people can't go to the game. 1 billion people watch this game. Yeah. There'll be thousands of, hundreds of thousands in New York that are watching on TV for sure. But they'll know it. And we're putting as was announced by the mayor last week, there's going to be a Super Bowl Boulevard, which will go from 34th to 48th. And that will be kind of the focal point of what's happening in New York and for the Super Bowl. And there'll be all kinds of events and a big toboggan and snow and all that stuff. So, as we said, embracing the weather.
Right.
And there'll be a lot of parties, there'll be a lot of energy. This city particularly feeds on energy. And I think it puts a smile on all of our faces when we see what happens in New York. And whether it's Broadway or a convention, we all just feel better if everybody's kind of buzzing around. And I think this will put that to an entirely different level.
Cooperation has been phenomenal. Mayor Bloomberg's office, Governor Cuomo's office, Governor Christie's office. You know, for the most part, heretofore, we've been dealing with the various activities that have to take place within the states, but we're now needing to start to come together on things like transportation. If somebody's staying in New York, just think about the law enforcement jurisdictions. You got to go from NYPD to Port Authority Police to state troopers to East Rutherford Police. So this is not a case of New Orleans or Indy, the last 2 Super Bowls, where it was kind of just one law enforcement entity. So across the board, we have to make sure that the seams, the handoff places all work. The last 6 inches, last 6 feet of snow gets plowed. The pickup of escorts works properly, et cetera. But I don't have any fear about it because the level of attention and cooperation we're getting from the 3 government partners has been stellar.
A lot of people refer to this as the New York Super Bowl. How have you tried to, and how did the process go when you tried to convince the NFL to host a Super Bowl? Did you need each other to do that?
Well, we certainly needed each team, and Woody and the Jets have been phenomenal partners, not only in Super Bowl, but the lead up, which obviously allowed us to build MetLife Stadium together. And it's important, obviously, to know the relationship between the Tisches and the Mara family, and John and my brother and sister, who have all been involved to get us to this moment. And cooperation is absolutely the word, partnerships, to understand all of the challenges involved in the region, as Al noted. The other owners had to have confidence in us, and we did not win on the first vote. We did not win on the second vote. It was the third vote, wasn't it, Woody?
it was down the line.
Right, right. But my sense is, and that is a closed vote, is a secret ballot. We don't know who voted for us. We don't know who voted against us. If I had to guess, there are other northern owners that are closely watching the success of this game, and they may have buildings without roofs because they say if they can do it in New York, why can't it be done, and this is my supposition, why can't it be done at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, and why can't it be done in Chicago at Soldier Field? And so this could create a whole new ability for the league and the owners to look at other venues besides the Miamis and the New Orleans and the Phoenixes of the world.
I think the fact that the league, it was 2 teams, and the enormity of actually accomplishing a new building in New Jersey for the region and for the league, I think all those things weighed, and the fact that we were willing to do it weighed in our favor. And we didn't get on the first ballot because I think there was that lingering skepticism. But I think it will be a new day because we've done those other cities. Cities are great, but we've done Miami 10 times already.
Yes, we have.
And it's very spread out because it's between Fort Lauderdale and Miami and all over the place, and the causeway is always closed or for wind or weather or something. And quite frankly, weather at these other facilities that are supposed to be so continuous have not been good. I mean, we had that Indy game that it rained like 5 inches during the game. So I think that New York it should be a permanent, as Al said, every 10-year place to do it, and I hope we live up to it.
Al, what will make the Super Bowl a success, other than a terrific game, and to you and everything you're doing with the host committee? What would be a success in your view?
Well, I think success would mean that people came here and said, I didn't have enough, and they want to come back, and it becomes a driver for tourism, which then drives the hospitality industry and the entertainment industry within the city. I think secondly, that every big event organizer would say, I've got to look at this market. They did such a phenomenal job on the Super Bowl. And I think the third thing is that it's been very important to the Johnson, Tisch, and Mara families, and to me from the beginning, that we leave a real legacy behind of good. And through our foundation, through our blood drives, through our environmental programs, we're trying to put in place things that will last the test of decades, where people will always be able to look at things and say, hey, that happened when the 2014 Super Bowl was played in the New Jersey, New York region.
And philanthropy, it is part of the deal. Just leaving that legacy, as you said. How do you plan to do that with charitable events and some of the charities you've adopted?
The Snowflake Youth Foundation, which has been set up through the host committee, is already doing their work. Al led a group on Saturday to plant 20,000 trees. That's part of our legacy. You saw it in the video. The blood drive, the effort to work in the communities to build up sports facilities for young men and young women, that's going to be the legacy. And we're also doing it because we know that a lot of people aren't going to be able to get to the game. With our Huddle Shuttle, which there was some video of that also, visiting 48 different stops in the next few months in both states, it has been hugely successful. And young people can throw a football and stand by Eli's locker or the Jets locker and really get this close to a Super Bowl trophy.
You talked about your long list, Al, of things to do, and don't bother you if it's not on the list. So give us an idea. What's left to do?
The transportation logistics, where the host committee itself is running 4 or 5 huge events. So we're doing a pregame party for 3,000 people. On Sunday, we're doing throwing a party for 4,000 members of the media. On Tuesday night, we're throwing a kind of a big gala for everybody who's helped us out on Wednesday night. So we're going to be entertaining thousands and thousands of people over the course of that week. There's thankfully, things I'm not involved in or good at, but what's the decor, what are the themes, what do the invitations look like, and who to invite, and all that kind of good stuff. We're still doing a tremendous amount of legacy work. Many blood drives still to be held, more projects to be selected. We've already got 30 projects green-lighted around the region where we're helping either build playgrounds, build playing fields, restore community homes like Boys and Girls Clubs. So more to do there, both in terms of fundraising as well as dispersing of the funds. And then we've got what will be onerous chores of which I think we're supposed to get in the next 10 days, our exact ticket. We know how many tickets we have, but we get the actual allocation because we don't know where our tickets are. And figuring out who's going to sit where is going to be a nightmare. I haven't had a daughter married yet, but I guess the nightmare of figuring out who sits where at a wedding. So there's a lot still ahead of us.
Tell me personally, let's put a face on this, what the Super Bowl will mean to you.
I would say the face for me is Bob Tisch and Wellington Mara. Wellington Mara, a titan of the NFL, the creator with others of what the NFL is today. And Bob Tisch, who our family has been fortunate to be partners with the Maras for 22 years now. And while my father was alive, the pleasure for him of standing on the sideline just for a regular game and to know that a kid who grew up in Brooklyn with nothing, owned half of one of the greatest franchises in all of sports, to know that they will be looking down saying, this is very cool, in our building, in an effort that our families are involved in to really take the NFL to another level and to help so many. Those are the faces that I think of.
Woody?
Well, I think we worked on the Olympic bid when I was trying to build the West Side Stadium. So we put a lot of effort into creating something really gigantic for the region. And I'm sure some of my relatives are looking down too, but they might be thinking different things. I just think it's something, we had the experience of actually looking at a large projects and all the issues, transportation, and all those issues we had looked at before for that Olympic bid when I just think New York is the center of the world as far as I'm concerned, and we should be hosting. There's no reason that we shouldn't be hosting these mega events, and so I'll be proud of accomplishing that for us, and then also opening the door for many other things, including more Super Bowls.
You know, to me, it's all going to be about watching people enjoy themselves, watching cash registers ring like crazy, and being very proud of the 40 or so people that also gave up parts, interesting parts of their career. And it is interesting dynamic in our office. We've got almost everybody who works on this is either under 28 or over 48. I think we have 2 people kind of in between. And it's been an incredible pleasure to watch young people in their 20s just grow, because I've never been involved in a small business, and I was saying this to a group last night. I was used to at American Express, I had 35,000 people working for me. If 2 people were out, I'd say, go grab those other 2 people. We only had 1 person in our finance department, and the person was out sick in the whole month of June. And none of us knew how to do payroll, or people like to get paid. They get a little ornery if the paycheck doesn't come. So the whole appreciation I've gotten for working so closely with these folks, and it's going to give me a great sense of pride to watch them beam at what they've been able to accomplish.
As a New Yorker, we're very excited that this is going to happen, and thank you all for your hard work in really making this happen.